3. Restoring trust. How to stabilize communication after collapse without reopening conflict. When communication has collapsed and the interaction has been reset, trust rarely returns on its own. The absence of open conflict does not mean confidence has been restored. More often, trust remains thin, cautious, and conditional. Clients continue to engage, but they do so with reserve. Messages are read carefully. Commitments are tested rather than assumed. Tone becomes polite but guarded. This stage is frequently misunderstood. Professionals assume that because the immediate tension has eased, the relationship is back on track. In reality, it has entered a holding pattern. What determines whether trust rebuilds or continues to erode quietly is what happens next. Why reassurance does not rebuild trust. After breakdown, reassurance is a common instinct. Professionals explain intentions, emphasize goodwill, or revisit shared goals. While these gestures are well-meant, they rarely restore confidence. Trust is not rebuilt through explanation. It is rebuilt through experience. Clients who have experienced breakdown are no longer listening for sincerity. They are watching for consistency. What matters is not how clearly intentions are stated, but how reliably behavior aligns with expectation over time. Reassurance speaks to emotion. Trust responds to pattern. Reliability as the foundation of recovery. Trust begins to return when interactions become predictable again. Predictability reduces emotional load and restores a sense of control. Clients stop scanning for risk and start engaging with content. Reliability does not require dramatic gestures. It is established through small, dependable actions delivered consistently. Follow-ups arrive when expected. Scope remains stable. Decisions do not shift unexpectedly. Tone stays even. Each reliable interaction rebuilds confidence quietly. Why narrowing scope strengthens trust. After breakdown, broad commitments feel unsafe. Both parties are aware, even if unspoken, that the system recently failed. Attempting to return to normal too quickly often undermines recovery. Narrowing scope allows reliability to be demonstrated without overexposure. Smaller commitments are easier to honor. Clear boundaries reduce ambiguity. Progress becomes tangible rather than assumed. This containment is not retreat. It is structural stabilization. Trust rebuilds through absence of surprise. Surprise is one of the fastest trust eroders. After breakdown, clients are hypersensitive to unexpected changes. Even positive surprises can destabilize recovery. Restoring trust therefore involves removing unnecessary volatility. When changes are required, they are introduced carefully and transparently. When uncertainty exists, it is acknowledged rather than glossed over. The absence of surprise creates psychological safety. Consistency over intensity. Trust does not return through urgency or enthusiasm. Intensity often increases pressure. What rebuilds confidence is consistency of pace, structure, and response. Regular communication matters less than predictable communication. Clear sequencing matters more than speed. Reliability outperforms reassurance every time. In global client environments, consistency is often interpreted as professionalism itself. Avoiding reactivation of the breakdown. One of the most common mistakes at this stage is revisiting the breakdown unnecessarily. While reflection has its place, repeatedly referencing what went wrong often reactivates emotional load and defensiveness. Trust rebuilds when the system functions again, not when the failure is analyzed repeatedly. Recovery focuses forward. When reflection is needed, it happens later and deliberately. Cultural sensitivity in trust restoration. Trust is rebuilt differently across cultures. Some contexts value visible follow-through. Others value steadiness and restraint. Some expect frequent reassurance, others interpret it as insecurity. Effective professionals adjust their recovery approach accordingly. They do not impose their own trust logic onto the client. They observe what restores ease and reinforce it. From guarded engagement to renewed collaboration. As reliability accumulates, engagement shifts subtly. Clients begin to respond more openly. Questions reappear. Assumptions soften. Tone relaxes. This transition is often gradual and quiet. Trust does not announce its return. It reveals itself through ease. Professionals who recognize this moment resist the temptation to accelerate prematurely. They allow stability to consolidate before expanding scope again. Why trust recovery is a leadership act. Restoring trust after breakdown requires restraint, patience, and discipline. It involves doing less rather than more. It requires confidence in process rather than performance. Clients notice this steadiness. It signals leadership. Those who can rebuild trust without reassurance demonstrate control under pressure, a quality that distinguishes professionals who are trusted with complexity from those who are merely competent. Preparing for renewed flow. Once trust stabilizes, communication regains elasticity. The conversation can tolerate nuance again. Alignment becomes easier to maintain. Emotional load decreases. At this point, the system is ready to move beyond recovery and back into productive flow. The next chapter explores how to guide conversations forward after breakdown, not by erasing what happened, but by integrating it into a stronger, more resilient communication pattern. Case snapshot: the client who shut down completely. A multilingual product lead from Turkey had always been expressive and collaborative. But one morning, during a cross-functional sync with US colleagues, she grew unusually quiet. Every response was short. Every sentence cautious. Her camera stayed on, but her presence seemed absent. The team moved forward, assuming she was tired. She wasn't. What had actually happened was simple and painful. A colleague had corrected her English phrasing in front of the group, intending to help, but unintentionally humiliating her. She spent the rest of the meeting protecting her dignity instead of contributing her expertise. When her manager later asked privately which moment made withdraw, she spoke openly. The manager restored trust not with an apology, but with a recalibration. Your insight matters more than the language you use to express it. We shape the phrasing together. Don't ever carry that alone. She exhaled. Her confidence returned. Her involvement deepened. Trust is restored not by fixing the moment, but by repairing the meaning behind it. Scenario practice: the safe truth invitation. Privately ask someone who withdrew or went quiet, which moment made you step back? This question restores dignity and reopens the relationship without forcing explanation.